Welcome back to the little studio. Well, I've got lots of questions for you today, and I hope you have lots of answers for me. I just wanted to talk a little bit about what some of your practices are as far as washing fabric. I have been ordering some fabric. I told you that last time. A lot of it was for repairing some of the vintage quilts that I had ordered. A lot of them have damage to them. And so I needed to order some fabric that looked like it was from the 1850s to 1900s. Um, and that's what some of this is here. But also, I wanted to order some little charm packs. I thought with a charm pack, I would be able to work on something small enough that it wouldn't be a big project in cutting and taking up a lot of space. It could be something small. But it just got me thinking today. Uh, I know what I do. I just wanted to hear what some of your thoughts were on washing fabric. Um, my This is kind of my rundown on my thought process always on washing fabric. Uh, and I know some of it is counterintuitive to what other people think for that, but I always think that commercially printed fabric needs to be washed even more than batik fabric. Batik fabric is printed in such a way that is rinsed over and over and over and over again after the printing process. So it gets washed so many times before they take it out and sun dry it that I am less worried about a batik fabric than I am a commercially dyed fabric. Commercially dyed fabrics generally are never washed. They run through a steaming machine and then pressed, but they generally don't get like washed the way a batik does. So I know people are always worried about like red batik, but I'm more worried about a red commercial fabric. But number one, I always wash fabrics for seeing what they'll do as far as releasing dye. Um, Number two, I always wash fabrics because I don't know where they've been in the world as far as dirt and bacteria and germs and allergens. And I don't need that in my house. So I just like to wash that away. We don't know how long it's been in a cargo container because let's face it, all material nowadays comes from overseas. Uh, we ship the cotton over, then the cotton gets shipped, or the printed material gets shipped back. We do have some printing on demand here in the United States, but most of it is on a cargo ship. And who knows what kind of rodents or whatever are on cargo ships or in warehouses. So I like to wash my fabric for that reason. The other reason is that they put all kinds of sizing in fabric to make it stiff and flat and presentable while it's in transit and while it is on a bolt in the fabric store because they want it to look nice and crisp and pretty so you'll buy it. I don't need that in my space either. Uh, I want to wash that away. Sometimes, well, first of all, I don't want to breathe it. Second of all, sometimes that starch or stabilizer, whatever they're using, will have pressed the fabric off grain. And I don't want to go ahead and take that off grain fabric and put it onto my cutting table and start cutting away like everything's fine and dandy. And then I sew it into a project and then it gets washed and then it relaxes back to its natural grain pattern and everything is twerking like it's going to a Britney Spears concert. So I don't like that either. I like to wash everything. The only thing that I do not wash as far as fibers are silk dupe peony. Silk dupe peony is not guaranteed to be color fast, so I don't wash that. The projects that I make with silk dupe peony I consider to be ephemeral projects, and they're just not meant to be ever near a washing machine. So some of the exceptions to that would be like charm packs. I wouldn't necessarily ever put this in a washing machine. Now, if I were really concerned about it, and I have done this, both with charm packs and with layer cakes, I have hand washed these before. Crazy. I have done it because, again, all the same reasons. I want to know what this is going to do before it gets into my project. Um, I don't want the germs as I'm working on something by hand, uh, especially because a lot of the things that I do uh, are hand applique. And part of my hand applique process is I use a toothpick to turn under the edge of the fabric. That toothpick goes in my mouth in between me turning the fabric and as I sew. And then, of course, the toothpick's obviously making contact with the fabric. I don't want that toothpick going in my mouth onto fabric that I don't know where it's been, on a cargo ship, on a bolt, you know, in somebody's store with who knows who's handling it over and over in the shop, uh, on a cargo container, you know, in a warehouse overseas, in a warehouse here in America. No, I want to wash it, and if I have to just air dry it on towels in the house, I've done that. I've ironed them dry. Um, Now this is a ton of them. I don't know that I'm going to do that with all of these. These are just going to get cut up into little things and sewn. Also, I have done it with 2.5-inch strips. I don't like it. I don't always do it anymore because sometimes you really run the risk of losing too much size or fraying. So I stay away from buying these to begin with. If I want 2.5-inch strips, I usually make them myself, cut my own fabric, buy the own fabric. Uh, in general, I don't like being limited to what they give you. Uh, and if I like a collection, I would rather have a half a yard or a quarter yard of the whole thing and then cut it myself, and determine what I do and don't want to use. And I'm not afraid of cutting. When I used to work in a fabric store, I used to cut all of the kits for the shop. And the shop used to also do cruises, and I used to cut all of the kits for the cruises. So I don't have any issue with cutting, and so I don't have any issue with washing. Um, in general, when I get something in the house, I wash it right away. Uh, it doesn't get to go into the area of fabric storage until it's been washed, and there's really only a couple exceptions. Like 2.5-inch strips are in a bin separately and they stayed tied up like this. I know they haven't been washed. This is another exception to the rule, uh, just as far as when it gets washed. This is the large backing, and large backings can be hard to handle once they come out of the drying process. But I'm going to talk more about that in another video because my process is going to change. But I have washed these when they come in and gone ahead and manhandled them back into a folded position and stored. But sometimes I just go ahead and put the backing material away in a package, and then when it comes time to need it, I'll just go ahead and wash it at that time and dry it, and then that's when I'll go ahead and put it right onto the I'll cut it, put it right onto the machine just as it's come out of the dryer, and let it you know, not need a bunch of ironing. It's right on there, and it doesn't need a lot of ironing, and you know, the crease doesn't have creases in it from being folded. So that's been my process on that. So I'm curious to hear what I know everybody has. It's kind of a hot button topic. but I know everybody has their own conversational pieces on this, and I'm not trying to start a war. I'm just telling you the reasons why I do it. Um, my family also, like my niece has terrible allergies. My nieces were just here last weekend for the festival. And so I'm always very conscious of having very high filtration system filters in my air conditioner, especially since we've been doing so much remodeling. But fabric is a very, dusty product. It's also absorbs a lot of the moisture in the ambient air. So that's something that I'm not sure if everyone's aware of, but it does attract a lot of moisture out of the air. So humidity levels are something that you have to kind of pay attention to. That's why sometimes we have dry skin or a dry mouth or voice. So anything like this, I would certainly, all of this will get washed. And as far as colors go, I know these are red and green. Uh, it may seem like I would separate the red and the green, but these are going to all go in the same quilt. So well, not necessarily the same quilt, but in the same type of quilt, those 1800 quilts. So I would be tempted to wash all these together because I want to see what they're going to do, because they are going to be together on a project. So I would rather find out now than find out later. Um, Here's another example of fabrics that in my mind, that need washed. These are the K Fawcett stripes, and I haven't taken these out yet, but I've had these before. And in the times that I've had these before, these were stiff as a board. Uh, I mean, they were like sheets of cardboard. I found them very difficult to work with. I can't imagine. I mean, I didn't use them without washing them, but when they came in, they were like flying saucers. I can't imagine somebody not washing these. I can't imagine how you would. I'm sure it was easy to cut, but I can't imagine what would happen after you washed it and what happened to it. Also, because of the weave and everything, I would imagine that these would be very prone to shrinkage more than other fabrics. So if it's going to shrink differently than this, and it may end up in the same project, or differently than this, and it's going to be in the same project, I want to know that now. I want it to shrink now before I do all that time sewing it. So definitely all of these will get washed. And whatever sizing's in there, whatever stiff board material they use from the Home Depot or Lowe's, I don't know where they get it, I want that washed out. All the germs washed out. I have a new washing machine, and it has no center agitator. I've been enjoying that. It doesn't seem to uh, make the fabric so mad. Doesn't seem to fray the fabric. Uh, I know that's an issue. Uh, you can buy a lingerie bag and wash little pieces like this in the lingerie bag so that they don't get all tangled up. I've had some success with that, but I don't always think about doing that. Also, I always use a hand wash cycle, or something similar to that. I forget. There's another word. It's not casual. I can't think of it. A hand wash cycle or something. The gentlest cycle on this washing machine. The temperature. I know some people like to use hot just to see what it's going to do. Some people use cold. I basically always use just cool water in my washing machine. I don't generally use hot unless I've got white fabrics in there, like my white dirty t-shirts. It's about the only time that I use hot water. Um, because those could be really dirty. And that's generally from doing outside yard work or something, when they've got dirt or really bad stains on it. So that is just my little conversation on washing fabric when it comes in. And I'll be honest, if I went to a flea market or a rummage sale, I have even ordered from online auctions when I was ordering some of the vintage quilts or quilt tops. I've even been able to find some of the vintage fabric uh, from people who had things in the auction, and that also gets washed. It may not get washed for the sizing because I don't know that it still has sizing in it, but it does get washed for the allergens and the fact that I don't have any idea where it's been for the last 100 years. Uh, and I don't want to put a toothpick in my mouth and be rubbing it against that fabric and keep putting that toothpick in my mouth again. So it's not that I'm a germaphobe by any means, but I'm not going to go, licking a toilet seat either. Or licking a rat or a mouse turd. So those are just some of the things that I think about with fabric. And it's, we deal with fabric as quilters a lot. So it's something that I just think about as a policy that I like to keep. Um, it's an important policy. It's an important factor. How, we either decide to do it or we don't do it. That's fine. But it is something that I think it's important that we think about and that we're conscious about because for most of us, it's a big part of our hobby. So that's just it. I'm very curious to see the feedback, though. I know we're going to have a lot of varying opinions. I'm not trying to, again, start any argument. Um, I'm just curious. It's just a curiosity, just an friendly debate, a friendly question. You are free to do however you're comfortable doing it. Um, One of the things that I used to love about Ellie Sienkiewicz, when I took classes with her, she would always sign a book. Well, not always, but a lot of times she would say, your way is the best way. So whatever way you're comfortable doing it, of course, is the best way for you. These are just the ways that are the best for me. It makes me have peace of mind. So, and it's not a way that is necessarily endorsed by Urban Elements, although I know Patricia also always washed her fabric. So, I know that she and I both shared that uh, little foible. Um, I don't know if it was always for the same reasons, exactly the same reasons, but perhaps many of them. But that's it for today. That's my little quest into the question of fabric washing. So let me hear your thoughts. Yes or no? Do you wash? What kind of fabric wash do you use? Some people just use Dawn dishwashing soap. Do you use fabric softener? Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I like to use the Downy Wrinkle Guard just because it helps keep some of the wrinkles out. Uh, and sometimes I don't use anything because I don't want scented things in the house. Uh, so do you use fabric softener or not? Uh, what cycle, what setting on the washing machine do you use? Do you use a lingerie bag to put small pieces in? Do you segregate washed and unwashed fabric? Um, these are just my questions. I will leave you with one funny thought. I had a roommate once that he always saw me washing fabric. And he asked me why I was always washing the same fabric over and over again. Well, obviously, it wasn't the same fabric. It was because I was buying new fabric all the time. But I went ahead and let him believe that I was washing the same fabric over and over. I told him that I always washed it when I was getting ready to use it, and he bought that because he didn't know anything about quilting. But that's it for me today. Thanks for popping in. Please give me a couple answers on the questions, and until next time, keep piecing it together.